I'm Dan Woike. I'm joined by my good friend, my colleague, my mentor in some ways. I'll give you some credit on that. Broderick Turner, and this is the Times Lakers show.
Dan, you said two things there
I said a lot of things.
that stood out.
What do you got?
Your good friend,
That's true.
pushing it,
Yes.
and your mentor. I think I failed at that job.
No, you have taught me much about canvassing the NBA. A lot of experience between the two of us.
Yeah.
People don't know, when I first started as an NBA writer, BT was covering the Clippers for the Times.
I was.
And he taught me the ways of the road, the life. He taught me where I should shop, where I should eat, where I should dine. And I took advantage of all that stuff.
And as you can see,
And now I'm broke and fat. First thing we're going to do to kick this off is our good friend Mark Potts bought us a pack of Panini NBA Hoops 22-23 basketball cards. I used to collect basketball cards as a kid. Were you a cards guy?
baseball cards. I have a Don Sutton baseball card that's autographed by him. I've got no clue where it is.
How big is the perm?
It was big.
Yeah, I bet.
It was big.
I'm going to show you the card,
Okay.
and you are going to have to give me a rapid-fire opinion about either the player,
Okay.
the team,
Okay.
or the geographic city in which he represents.
Okay.
All right, so let's open these guys up.
Let's do this.
And
thing
anything of actual, there's a good one. Anything of actual value, I get to keep.
then. Oh, really?
Ooh, let's start off first. A good one. From your Miami Heat, Bam Adebayo.
Oh.
What's your Bam Adebayo take?
Miami's been good to me over the years. In fact, it's been great for me over the years. But let's just say, when I think of Miami and the Heat, I think of Pat Riley.
I think they are too sensitive of a fan base about the Damian Lillard trade. That is my Miami Heat take. Brooklyn Nets, Kessler Edwards.
That's the head coach, Jack Bond, is from Pasadena.
Yes.
Good guy, good coach, good man. I'm happy for him.
They're a good team. They're a fun team. We have a Utah Jazz card, Colin Sexton.
Alabama kid went to the same school as Robert Ory. That can be
That's not a good sign
that
for him.
good.
Fun one.
Ooh.
Fun one. Contavious Caldwell Pope. The man Anthony Davis congratulated on winning an NBA title before trashing Denver. BT, KCP, what do you got?
KCP, cool dude who actually was a good high school football player. How about that?
I like
From
that.
Georgia.
We got a good one here. Anthony Davis. Los Angeles Lakers. Do you have a Laker take, an AD take, or a...
The first take is he's from Chicago,
Yes.
and he's a Green Bay Packer fan, and he switched over to becoming a New York Jets fan. I don't know whose team he belongs to in the NFL.
Great AD story in Milwaukee last year. Best game of the Westbrook Laker era.
Yes.
They played amazing in Milwaukee. And Anthony Davis had a great game. He's doing his post-game. He's getting ready to come to his post-game interview. And Lakers PR person Tanisha Cooper is like, guys, if you want, AD's in the hallway and he's talking to somebody, you might want to go check it out. And it was Aaron Rodgers. And Anthony Davis points at me and at the group of reporters, said, him, that's the guy who talks all that bleep about the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are getting ready to play the Bears next week. Aaron Rodgers said, keep talking.
Oh, I love that story.
And who won that game? The Green Bay Packers.
That's what they did.
Another rookie card here for another player I actually think is going to have a nice season. Detroit Pistons, Jalen Duren.
They have the best food in the NBA.
In the arena?
In the arena.
Yeah, they have. It's a Little Caesars arena.
Yes, it
I
is.
believe. It is like going to a very fancy Little Caesars.
Yes, it is.
And then we have, I think this is a good one to jump.
Okay.
A frequent flyer. We're two frequent flyers. Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks. What do you got?
One of my favorite players to watch play because he plays hard from beginning until the end.
We could get into some fun Giannis takes because other guys around the league, I don't think really have a ton of respect for his game, despite how good he's been.
I don't think he has.
He's so physical.
He's not very skilled,
That's what it is.
but his skill is playing hard every second, every minute, and just outworking you.
Well,
And that's a skill that you have to
gigantic.
respect.
He can handle the ball. He can do all
Yes.
this. I said this when Damian Lillard got traded. You've heard me, I've been arguing in favor of Milwaukee as a city for years. I am a big fan of Milwaukee as a city, as an NBA road city. Look, you laugh because nobody likes it. Bottom 5 for a lot of people, probably, right?
I don't dislike it.
Our friend Jay Adonde called it a Chicago suburb, I believe. So the best part of Milwaukee is it's 90 minutes from Chicago.
Well, I don't plan on spending my summers in Milwaukee.
You should. Great music fest.
No,
Summerfest.
I should not. I know where I'll be.
I've seen some great concerts at Summerfest.
Good for you. I've seen better concerts at the Hollywood Bowl right here in Hollywood, California.
So as we kind of head into the regular season now, BT, I kind of want to look back a little bit at the start of training camp, the end of the summer.
Right.
You were in Paris for most of it. This is what you do. I got to tell people, if you don't know, like your brand, BT, is so strong that you are known for vacationing. Like, is a real achievement that, like, when people see you, they talk to you, generally speaking, about good wine,
Yes.
what you cook for dinner,
Yes.
and Paris, France. These are generally
that is
speaking.
very true.
These are generally speaking the when you see whether it's retired players, current players, like everybody wants to know, BT, what are you sipping on
Yes.
when you go to Paris?
Yes.
Watching this team get assembled, really quickly actually this summer, and then it kind of dragged out with Christian Wood a little bit. What did you think? And I guess did the Damian Lillard trade, the Drew Holiday trade, you know, as we see all this, like this big time movement of stars around the league here late in the build of the season, any of that change your mind about the Lakers summer?
No. It didn't, because I thought the summer was an extension of the trade deadline.
You're buying the pre-agency, the Rob Pelinka pre-agency.
I mean, I wouldn't use that word, but that's a cute word to use by Rob.
He likes it.
You know, and Rob he's a wordsmith. His own wordsmith, but he's a wordsmith. I just like the idea that they got so much depth on this team. Quality depth. Guys that can play multiple positions, which is what we hear a lot of the NBA.
Optionality.
You know, that's a good word also.
For the Rob Pelinka.
I saw Jeannie Buss on media day.
Okay.
And she was parking on the streets, as was I, because I'm a man of the people, Dan.
That's right.
I'm not like you.
I was behind the gate.
No, you were, because you're that kind of guy.
Yes.
And I walked by her and I said, Jeannie, how are you? And of course, she said the same thing to me. I said, Jeannie, you know, congratulations on getting married. Mm-hmm. And I was in Paris. She goes, of course you were, BT.
Yes, see, this is the brand.
And because of your marriage, I had a bottle of wine to celebrate you getting married.
It was very sweet of you.
And she says, one bottle? Okay. Maybe more than one.
Should have hit her for what, the Sincoro,
You're right.
the tequila or whatever.
But I mentioned to her that I talked to Rob Pelinka and Darvin Ham, and I told both of them that this old guy like me, who's covered this team for ages, got excited about this team.
Really?
I did. And she goes, I'm glad to hear that, BT, because you have been around for a long time.
We're kind of on, I want to say, like slightly different planes on this, because, I mean, I think it was...
Well, think back to last year. They started 2-10.
Yeah.
And dealing with Russell Westbrook for the team, for the fans, for us in media, was not a good thing.
For sure. But I think, like, it's weird. It was weird seeing the Lakers sidelined during the Dame stuff, during the Drew Holiday stuff, because, like, that is usually, like, a star is available, right? Like, the Lakers are in that mix. Like, that is how that goes. And because of the Russell Westbrook trade, because of the price they paid for Anthony Davis, the Lakers weren't in those talks, and like they couldn't be, right? Fiscally, like they had to re-sign all their players. The only player they could have
it wasn't just physically with Dame.
But I would say the only player they could have traded for Damian Lillard anyways, like legally, would have been LeBron. Like he was the only player eligible to go out in that trade. So that was never going to happen. Same true for Drew Holiday. I think it was like a pretty like quiet summer, which is good. It was like status quo. It was, they kind of took care of their business. They re-signed who they needed to re-sign. You know, they kept up continuity. Continuity is not the most exciting thing to sell. I felt that at media day. Like last year, right? Last year was a pain, and it was crazy, and it was stressful. But there was this big topic, which was, what are they going to do with Russell Westbrook, right? And they had a new coach. This year is like sort of like, can they build on what they did last year? And it's much more competent. Exciting is like not the word I would choose. But I think it's different to see the Lakers in this position. It does sort of feel like the most stable ground they've been on. I would say the only other offseason in the LeBron era was the year after the championship, where they did make some changes. They had Dennis Schroeder, they had a Marc Gasol. But like it does feel to me a little more like that summer than it does any of the other ones. And I think that's a good sign that people forget that team was pretty good.
When I say excitement is versus being bored, I haven't gone to, let's just say, 25 camps.
So I think the excitement comes from you believe in this team.
Believe that this team
can be good.
Can be very good.
Yeah.
This team has the potential to win a championship. I'm not saying that they're going to, but there's enough there that you have to look at them and say they are probably easily top 4 in the West.
Okay.
And let's just say top
so since
6 to 7 in the entire NBA.
Because this is a preview show, we can do this, right? Would you have them ahead or behind Phoenix?
That's a good question. I'm going to say ahead because Phoenix doesn't have the depth.
And they don't have the continuity.
They don't have.
Right?
But they have 2 great players and one, in my opinion, very good player in Bradley Beal.
And a good coach.
They have a good coach.
And I think they'll play defense, and I think they did a pretty good job at it.
But having Kevin Durant is just... And Devin Booker.
Kevin Durant and Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Are they better? Would you have the Lakers ahead or behind? Obviously, I think you'd have them behind Denver.
Yes.
Would you have them ahead or behind Memphis? Who's had?
Oh, they're ahead of Memphis.
Who's had like the best record in the regular
season? I'll just say, in no particular order, my top 4 would be
Clippers,
Denver, the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
I think Golden State would be 5 for me.
I think that would be the
because it helped them that Draymond is going to be out for a while with an ankle injury. I think Memphis is still going to be good because they subtracted, but they added Marcus Smart from Boston. Mm-hmm. They don't have Ja Morant for the first 25 games. He's suspended. They are going to miss him.
They will.
They're also going to miss up Tyus Jones.
Yes, that's a good point.
But they're bringing back Steven Adams, who didn't play against the Lakers.
Would have mattered in that series.
Right, and Clark comes back, so...
Eventually, he'll be back.
So that's up in there, but those are my top 4 teams.
I mentioned Oklahoma City early. I do not
in the top 4?
No, I do not have them there.
Okay.
I do think, though, I will give you a team that I think can crack that top 4.
Okay.
That's the New Orleans Pelicans. That was a team that was in first place in the West last year when Zion got hurt. There does feel like there's going to be a healthy Zion season at some point, just out of sheer luck, maybe out of anything. He changed up some stuff. I talked to some people in New Orleans. He's changed up some workout stuff. He's looked, like seemingly like the reports have been pretty good about him on the court.
So you think they can be top 4?
The Trey Murphy injury is a bummer for them. He matters, but they have, you talk about different cores, Jonas Valanciunas and our thing, Brandon Ingram, C.J. McCollum, Zion Williamson, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, like that, and by the way, the ammunition to go execute some big sort of trade should they want to. They've got all those pieces.
Right.
I'm saying I think they are a potential party crasher to that group. I don't have them in the same sort of like. I think there's a way better chance that New Orleans would finish in the top 4 but not be viewed as serious of a contender as the Lakers if the Lakers finish, say, 7th or something like that. Like, I believe
you have them in the top 4 over,
I believe in the
over
Lakers,
which team?
I believe in the Lakers championship bona fides more than I believe in New Orleans. I think there's a decent chance that New Orleans has one of the 4 best regular season records.
Which would leave out which team?
How about the Clippers? What's your belief? What's your belief factor that we're going to see 70 games from Paul George or Kawhi Leonard?
Number 1, Kawhi went to watch Colorado play. Kawhi goes nowhere. So he's a human being after all.
Yes.
As we see, and as someone said on Twitter, man, he goes
big Buffs fan.
Yeah.
I like that he's like finally shook San Diego State. The stink of San Diego State up.
Hey, watch it.
I know.
But because who knows if he's going to stay healthy all year?
Exactly.
Who knows if AD is going to stay healthy all year?
Totally
LeBron, a Zion. We don't know those things. But say all things be considered, if all these teams are healthy and they play the league's 65 to win the award. I'm saying 70.
Who's your sleeper team in the West then? Who's the team that like we haven't? Is there a team that we haven't mentioned yet that you think is like
A sleeper team.
that a little scarier than maybe we're accounting for here?
You know,
Haven't said Minnesota.
we have not said Minnesota. I don't like the two big guys.
Haven't said Utah. Who is
That's my sleeper team, the Utah Jazz. There's some talent.
good coach?
Good coach. They play hard, and going to play there is not easy.
No,
So that would be the one team that I think that could.
distracted by that improving Salt Lake City nightlife.
But again, the West is just, man, the West is tough. And it's fun. And I'll use my word again, it excites me.
I don't know. I don't feel very confident about anybody in the West, weirdly. I mean, like, because I kind of like, I think Denver got a little worse, but I believe in sort of their infrastructure. I believe in their core.
But the starting five is so good.
It's so good. Bruce Brown, though, was a big part of that
He
team.
was a big part of that team.
Brucey B.
But the young kid that they,
Speaking of Long Beach, Payne Watson.
no,
And Christian
him.
Brown.
So they,
Is it Christian Brown or Christian Braun?
and look, they got one of the top 5 best players in the league, in Jokic.
Oh, top 2.
No, so you have that.
Yep.
And then you have a point guard, Jamal Murray, who's damn good. Michael Porter Jr. has no conscience when it comes to shooting threes. He can be 0 for 1,000. He'll come down and shoot 1,001. Now, he did suffer a little bit. He had a tough time in the NBA Finals, but he is a confident, skilled young man.
Dude, he's a matchup problem.
6'10".
Yeah, he's
Aaron Gordon, he's really good. And then our guy, KCP.
Let me ask you about the Lakers here. So we were talking about that offseason, and I look at, the acquisitions, right? Gabe Vincent, like pro, right? Like
Yes.
solid. Torian Prince, solid pro. Christian Wood to me is sort of the wild card in all of this. A guy who they targeted early in free agency, and then had to wait because Christian Wood didn't want to sign for the minimum. He shouldn't want to sign for the minimum. Nobody wants to sign for the minimum. I don't think people understand. Players don't really like signing for the minimum because it sort of sets your market. And the Lakers have done a good job of taking these players, Malik Monk, Dennis Schroeder, who they both signed on minimums, and spinning those guys forwards into raises and stuff like that. But Christian Wood to me is an X factor. Darvin Ham said this, and I was a little surprised he did. I probably shouldn't be. He's a pretty honest guy. But like he said something along the lines like Christian Wood gets numbers, but those numbers haven't been about winning. And we're going to figure out a way to like take those numbers and make them about winning. That's a question mark for me. I think he's going to matter on this team, BT. I think he's going to start a bunch of games because AD will be out just in general. Like, I think something will happen along the way. I think it's a safe bet. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. And I like that he can play with Anthony Davis. They're going to need points. Mentioned Gabe Vincent, Torian Prince. That's not a ton of offense. Those aren't really what those guys do. They added scoring and like with Hachimura and Austin Reeves can score a little bit. D'Angelo Russell can score a little bit, but I think another bucket getter is important. Rob Pelinka told me that when we talked about the Christian Wood signing at one point. He to me is an X factor. Is there another guy that stands out to you as like, I mean, outside of like LeBron and AD staying healthy, which I think we all agree is like that is if those guys stay healthy, the Lakers will have a good season. I think everybody kind of believes that. Who else can like tip the scales for this team?
I don't know if you would say tip the scales with this one guy, but I'm curious to see if Max Christie breaks the rotation and he gets minutes ahead of maybe McCam Reddish that they signed. Max worked hard this summer. He improved quite a bit. His confidence and his body has gotten bigger.
He looks like
I
an
am
NBA
curious
guard.
to see where things stand with him.
So
As a rotation.
I'll give you a Max Christie thing. So I think for him to like really matter, like we're not talking about playing those Lonnie Walker minutes and stuff like that, like at the end of the season when you're like the 10th guy, the Malik Beasley, Lonnie Walker minutes. I think there is a pathway to like if you looked at this roster and said, who is like the 6'5" guy who's going to guard opposing twos? Who's the 6'6" guy who's going to like athletically compete with Bradley Beal or Devin Booker? Like the Lakers have used Jared Vanderbilt in that situation, but like there's some offensive liabilities with Jared Vanderbilt. Like,
Well, the other guy still would be Torian Prince. He's a wing defender.
Sure.
3-and-D guys. So
That's what I mean.
If it
But, like,
comes
and I
down
think
to
Max
that, you can
Christie,
throw him
certainly
out
from
there.
a season standpoint, like there's room there. He had a great summer. Played really well in summer league as like a primary option. Had a good year in the G League. Like everything you want out of a young player, right? Like where performed well in the G League, looked, I think, competent in his flashes in the NBA. I mean, there were some whispers. I don't know if you were hearing them from some people around the league who kind of thought maybe they should have tried Max Christie a little more in the playoffs. That like he was a guy whose size could have mattered.
Yeah, those are whispers. You don't play rookies in the playoffs.
They
Just
played
throw
Tristan
them in
Dobson
there.
in the playoffs. That was the other guy people were kind of calling for in the Denver series. But like, I think it's one of those things. Like, if he can be, truly a 3-and-D player, because I think like the pedigree is there. I think the role could be bigger by the end of the season than 9th, 10th guy. I think there's a pathway
I think
to really mattering in that way, because that's something the Lakers really don't have. I mean, mentioned Cam Reddish, like that's a lottery ticket to me, right? Like he's a talented player, but like he hasn't figured out how to best be an NBA player in a functional way yet. This is stop number 4 for him
Yes.
in a young career. Like that's not a
Because he
great
began
sign.
at Atlanta.
There's a
New
reason
York,
why the Lakers were able to sign him,
Portland, and
right,
here.
for the minimum. Torian Prince, I like, again, like sort of the idea. Like we'll have to see it. He's also been a guy who's had some injury issues and has fallen in and out of rotations. I think there's a window. I don't think Max Christie's a small forward. I think he's a 2. Like he looks like a shooting guard.
He is, but this league is just based on having wing players.
Yeah.
And he is essentially a wing player who's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger, which can help him play some of those small forwards.
Do we think Rui Hachimura can play small forward minutes for them?
I think he can. Rui wants to play. And at some point, I wonder, does he become the starting forward on the team as this year progresses? I don't know who that starting guy is going to be. Is a small forward, power forward? I don't know who it's going to be. It's going to be Jared Vanderbilt. I think it's a fluid position.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think we know. I mean, Darwin has said as much that there's, we know 80% of the starting lineup, right? As like that was what he announced the start of training camp, and like we've seen some action on that front. But I think like to me, I like Rui as like a primary scoring option off the bench. I did like that last year, and I think he's a guy that, I loved what he said at Media Day, basically like, I don't care about starting, I care about closing.
Yes.
And I think that's a good thing. I do have some sort of wing defensive questions, like if you play him with Anthony Davis, LeBron James,
Yes.
Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, or Gabe Vincent, like who is the wing stopper there? You're kind of playing 2 power forwards, a center, a shooting guard, and a shooting guard, kind of a little bit.
That's when you start coaching. That's when you mix and match in and out.
Yeah.
Put the defensive guys in, you take them out the game, you put the offensive guys in the game. That can be worked out. But you want to have your best 5 on the court, and then you figure it out.
This is going good, I think. How do you feel? You feel good?
Man, I feel great.
That's good. You look okay. But it's good to like.
And man, like I'm still on my high from Paris. Nothing can bring me down. Nothing at all. Not even you, Dan.
That's like if they drug test you, they'd find just like Cabernet and
Well,
baguettes.
that and the nice Fritz and steaks.
That too. I play a game that I'm calling Ceiling Floor. All right? You're a homeowner, I'm a homeowner. Care a lot about my floors and my ceilings. Let's throw some teams out there. I want you to argue for the team's best case scenario, and then I'll pick it apart. Okay? And I want to start the Eastern Conference with a team that Laker fans hate. You're wearing kind of green pants. The Boston Celtics, BT.
Hey,
What
Dan,
is
I don't wear kind of anything. I wear what I wear.
what's the ceiling for the Boston Celtics?
NBA championship.
How do they get there?
They have 2 of the best wing players in the NBA, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They added a great 2-way player in Drew Holiday, was a local guy from Los Angeles.
Yep. Campbell Hall.
I think their young coach, he had a tough time at it at times.
A little bit of a rocky postseason.
You know, and I just like the idea that they're pushing for 18, as the Lakers are.
Yep.
Kristaps Porzingis is going through his
He had a
injury
great
issues.
season last year.
He really did. He really did. And so having those four guys,
Al Horford's
and
still
Al Horford is as old as I am.
Yes.
He can outrun me a little bit. And so I think they have become the favorites, not only in the West, not only in the East, but in the entire NBA.
All right, let me
That's
give you
the
the
team.
floor. I'll give you
Okay.
the floor for them.
Okay.
Porzingis gets hurt and or doesn't like being the third or fourth offensive option, which disrupts them defensively. They struggle to build a culture because the guy who was behind the wheel of that, Marcus Smart, now plays in Memphis.
Yes.
They have coaching questions
Yes.
and they have depth issues.
Yes.
Like that, they are a very thin team. That look, every team has the same thing where if one of your stars gets injured, like you're in trouble. That is true for everyone. They have some protection for that because they've got 4 legitimate stars. They could have 4 all-stars, really. That would be my counter argument to the Boston Celtics. It's a long season.
It is.
The Miami Heat.
The Miami Heat.
What is the ceiling for the Miami Heat?
Oh, man. You can never discount them, but I don't see them coming out of the East this year.
So yeah.
I just don't see it happen. Obviously, because I picked Boston coming out of the East. I think they remain a top 4 team in the East, but I'm just not sure how much Jimmy Butler can drag that team along here and Bam.
Sure.
I love Eric Spoelstra, and obviously I'm a big Pat Riley fan. But how much longer can they just keep pushing themselves to the limit without winning a title? And this is not the year. I think this season is not one I think they can win a championship.
One of the biggest losers of the offseason, sneakily, the Miami Heat. Because I think they thought they were getting Dame. They didn't. Then they didn't get Drew Holiday. And both those guys ended up at Eastern Conference rivals of them. The floor to me is not make the playoffs. I think there is a...
You said not make the playoffs?
They barely made the playoffs last year. They were losing to the Chicago Bulls
Key
in the
word.
play-in
You say
tournament.
barely not made the
I'm
playoffs.
saying,
They made the playoffs.
Kyle Lowry's a year older.
I barely got the Paris this summer, but I got the Paris.
They lost players that mattered. Max Strus matters on that team. Gabe Vincent mattered.
And
they
know
feel like
Miami will find them another master.
I think that stuff
They
is
will
sort of
find,
true until it
and they'll
isn't.
find them another Gabe Vincent.
That stuff
you
is
know why
true
they will?
until because of
Because
Heat
they
culture?
always do.
Because of Heat culture.
Because they always do. I'm going there.
Florida, to me, is not in the playoffs.
Okay, then.
There's
How
a
about
world
this?
where they do not make
better
the
bottle of wine, and I don't like.
Love this.
I don't drink cheap wine, as you know.
All right, let me give you another team. Let's go to the West.
Okay.
Floor, ceiling, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Maybe I think one of the most interesting teams in the NBA this year.
I say a playing team
I think the ceiling's
that
higher.
does not make the playoffs.
I think the ceiling's
they
way
get beat
higher.
either the first playing series or they get beat in the second time around.
I'm going to break the rules. Can I argue?
they-
Can I argue ceiling for them then? This one.
Go ahead.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wins the MVP. I think there is a world in which that happens.
Do we test here for drugs?
I think there is.
I mean, we have to, right?
He was the best player at the FIBA. He was the best player at
I'm
FIBA.
looking at your hair is moving around. You winking your eye or something?
I think
to
that
me?
there is a world. If there, Shea,
I am a Shea fan. Love the kid from the time he played.
He
for
was
the
in the
Clippers.
top 5 last year in MVP voting.
Okay.
It's not that big of a jump.
Did USA send their best team over there?
It-
were the best players in the world.
He was one of the best players in the
Yes, he
NBA
was.
last year.
So you say
That
he's
team-
going to be MVP of the
he
league?
had that team again, like knocking on the door of the playoffs last year. Scary team. Nobody wanted to play that team. And then you've got
You're telling me
you've got year 2
Shea
of Jalen Williams.
Gilgeous-Alexander
You're
will
adding-
be the MVP of the league that has
I'm
Giannis.
saying ceiling.
That
Ceiling.
You saying he could potentially be that?
I'm saying that is the best possible scenario for the Thunder this year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, MVP. What are those odds?
Not very high.
Let's take a look. The Los Angeles Clippers. Best case scenario for the Clippers. You can argue this.
Okay. That Kawhi Leonard and Paul George stay healthy to the point where I'm saying they play 70 games, which makes them an NBA championship contender. Another reason is because, in my view, they have one of the top 3 best coaches in the NBA, and Tyronn Lue.
He's a good one. He's one of the ones that matters.
Yes, he does. I mean, he pulls it out of that team. Even when those 2 guys, Paul George and Kawhi, are not playing, he gets the most out of his team.
Floor is, come February. This is a wild take. Are you ready?
Okay.
Come February, they're fielding trade calls on Paul George or Kawhi Leonard.
You got
That,
it in mind.
that the injuries,
Out of your mind.
that the injuries, the unwillingness to extend has made it. I mean, look, Paul George was in trade talks this summer. That was, everybody sort of is, but like that was like a thing. That was not a not thing.
Where's Paul George playing right now?
He's a Clipper.
Okay, then.
So there's not a. Can I give you?
Tell you about trade talks.
Can I give you a scenario?
Can I give you a story on trade talks?
What do you got?
Back when Mitch Kupchak was the GM of the Lakers,
Yes.
he told me he would get phone calls from other teams asking about Kobe Bryant.
Sure.
You know how ridiculous that was? There was only one time where potentially Kobe could get traded.
Chicago.
Because he wanted to be traded.
Chicago, right? For
Imagine
Luol
this.
Deng.
You won a championship.
And the Bulls didn't want to
and
trade Luol Deng.
Mitch picks up the phone. How you doing, so-and-so GM from so-and-so team?
Yeah.
Hey, is Kobe available? Man, I'd have been like,
Okay.
oh, you out your...
All right.
So
Can you be Lawrence Frank?
name me a player.
Be Lawrence Frank.
Name players that names don't come up when it comes to trade talk.
Be Lawrence Frank for a second. Okay? You're a Lawrence Frank.
I'm not that short, but go
It
ahead.
is, you guys have the same haircut. It is, we'll say, February 1st. Kawhi Leonard has played 25 games. Okay?
Okay.
Could happen, right?
Yes, it could happen.
Okay.
But I doubt if that
The
happens.
West is the behemoth we think it is. Again, keep in mind, I'm arguing floor. I think this is worst case.
That one, where you going right now? I'm not going. I'm not going when
The
that's
New York
back
Knicks, pick up the phone.
And they're going to send you back who?
They're going to send you RJ Barrett. They're going to send you 4 first-round picks.
Do they have 4 first round
They've
picks?
got a ton of picks. They've been like the rumors have been like, like saving them potentially for like Donovan Mitchell down the road or something like that. They pick up the phone and they say, Lawrence Frank, we want Paul George. We will give you Emmanuel quickly.
So at
we
this
will
point,
we will give you.
Well, what's
RJ Barrett, and we'll
the
give you draft
Clippers'
picks.
record?
That's what I told you.
Where are they in the Western Conference?
We think the West is great. All these teams are performing, and the Clippers have had another run of bad injury luck. You don't see that scenario as a possibility?
No.
All right, I agree with you. That's not even a good argument. I don't even believe my own argument. I don't think that's going to happen. Ceiling floor Los Angeles Lakers. Let's wrap it with the team that we're here to talk about.
Ceiling for them, in my view, with the Lakers is top 2 in the West
In the regular
in
season.
the regular season.
Wow.
I think it matters to them. I think seeing Anthony Davis being as serious as he was at Media Day and looking at his body, and as we said, it bothers him when they lose games, and because of the depth. Having that many players that can play quality minutes, as you brought up, Rui Hachimura can be a guy off the bench to give them offense. Gabe Vincent can give them solid offense. Christian Wood can give them the offense. I think the Lakers can have 6 players averaging double figures.
I think that's possible. I think the floor for them is the play-in. It seems like it's hard for me to imagine them not in the top 10. I mean, like some world in which like they're all stricken with like the world's worst food poisoning and nobody can play and like stuff like that. Like sure, like that scenario. But I think like there is a world in which the injuries at the top of the roster are such that this team kicks around 500 for most of the year and like is in the play-in. Like I don't think that's that.
I'm just saying, all things being considered, if every team in the league stays healthy,
Sure.
which we know won't happen,
happen.
but just say all things being
Guarantee that won't
considered,
happen. Yes.
I think that they can be a top 2 team in the West.
Here are some things that I think will happen if they are a top 2 team in the West. I think we will hear Darvin Ham's name mentioned in some coach of the year conversations. I think we will hear LeBron James's name mentioned, potentially as the oldest MVP ever in the regular season.
Okay.
And I think we will hear Austin Reeves' name mentioned as potentially an all-star. If they are that good,
No.
they are that good.
No, Austin Reeves would not be mentioned. And the
You don't
West
think they'll
Coast,
have a third all-star?
there are 2 guys, guards.
We'll both be all-stars.
There are 2 guards right now in.
If they're the second best team in the West,
I'm still saying no, because Devin Booker's going to be an all-star guard.
okay,
There's a guy named Stephen Curry. It's going to be a guard. And your MVP. Who's your MVP of the league?
The center?
So who's your MVP from Oklahoma City?
Oh, Shea.
What position does he play?
Shout out Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Okay, then. So
I'm just saying.
I know that's your guy.
I'm just saying that in this
So I just
scenario,
gave you 3 guards right there.
in this scenario in which
Right?
you have the Lakers as the second best team in the West.
No, they have 2 guys on the All-Star team.
And
Anthony Davis
if they're
and LeBron
that good,
James.
those guys are all going to have
There's
their
a
hands on
guard that
hardware.
plays for the Denver Nuggets.
Maybe not All-Star. How about this? Maybe most improved player. How about most improved player?
But how about the guard from the Denver Nuggets?
Jamal Murray.
Okay.
Never been an All-Star.
Ooh-wee.
Never been an All-Star.
That's 4 guards I just gave me.
Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving too. We can keep going. We got to get to work. Other work. We have a lot of work. This was fun though, and I think we're gonna keep doing this throughout the season. People should send us questions, send us comments. Tell me how bad my ideas are. Tell me how bad BT's ideas are. How bad his green pants are. You pick. There's a lot to talk about. It's gonna be a really fun Lakers season. I'm looking forward to it. BT, I gotta tell you, I'm excited. You've gotten me excited. You, me, Genie Bus, all excited about the Lakers. Subscribe, leave comments here, on the video. Hit us on Twitter, X, Instagram. BT, you don't have Instagram for some reason.
I do not.
And seriously, buy a newspaper too. That'd be nice as well.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
I
If not, go digital.
I want to eat. Yeah. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on the Times Lakers show.